Hi, in this video we'll be looking at the sum of the measures of the angle of a triangle. So you may be wondering what is an angle, you may be wondering what's the measure of an angle. So we'll sum that up really quickly and then we'll talk about a triangle specifically. So if we have two intersecting lines or two intersecting rays, two intersecting line segments, so for example down here we have a line segment here, a line segment here, they form an angle. So the space between that line segment and that line segment is an angle, or the space between it is the angle measure. So the measurement between those two line segments is called an angle measure. Okay, so here's my argument with triangles. So let's get rid of that blue thing there. Okay, so here's my argument with triangles. My argument, which is a true argument, is that I can take any triangle, doesn't matter the size, doesn't matter the shape, doesn't matter the type. I can take any triangle, and if I take the three measures in that triangle, the three angle measures, they'll always add up to 180 degrees. Now I can't do it here to show you, but if I had scissors and I could cut out what I just drew, basically one would look like that. Let me redraw it down here. One would look like that. This one, if I turn it around and put it next to it, it would look like that. And then this one, if I put it here, it would complete a line. And a line is 180 degrees. So this might be going a little bit too far, but I just wanted to make sure that you understand that every single time, if I take any triangle and I take the three angles from that triangle, you're always going to get that same sum of the measure of the angles. It's always going to add up to 180 degrees. Now, with that in mind, we are able to figure out some unknowns in triangles. So let's look at a couple examples so you see what I mean. Okay, so in this triangle, we're being asked to find x, and we know something that we just spoke about. We know that the sum of the angle measurements will always be equal to 180 in every single triangle, which means that if we take our 51 and we add it to 85 and we add it to this unknown number x, we should get 180 degrees. All right, so therefore we can figure out what x is. Pretty simple. Here we can just add those two numbers and we get 136 plus x, which is still unknown for now, is equal to 180 degrees. Finally, we can isolate our x by subtracting 136 from both sides, and we get that x is equal to 44 degrees. And degrees is just the measurement of angles. It's just the units we use to measure angles. All right, let's try one that's slightly harder. Okay, so here we're looking at an example, and even though it looks harder, it's really the same. The sum of all the angles have to be 180 degrees since it's a triangle. So we can set it up with that knowledge. So we go ahead and we put x plus 1 plus 5x plus 2x plus 11. And I actually don't need these parentheses, but I put them just because I want to have good habits. But when you start having negative signs show up, those parentheses are way more important. All right, so when you add that all up, you get 180 degrees. All right, and again, this step is not necessary because it's really just the same as what's above, but I'm going to get rid of those parentheses. And so we get that all of that, when you add it up, is equal to 180 degrees. So our like terms here are x, 5x, and 2x. And then as far as numbers are concerned, our constant numbers are 1 and 11. All right, so we can go ahead and add our like terms. X plus 5x plus 2x is equal to 8x. And 1 plus 11 is equal to 12. So 8x plus 12 is equal to 180 degrees. Now we would like to solve for x. So in order to do that, we have to go ahead and take 12 from each side, and we'll get that 8 x is equal to 168. And now we can go ahead and do the opposite of multiplying 8, which is dividing 8. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. And so we get here that x is equal to 21. And that's the value of x. But the question is not finished because it actually asks you to give the measure of each angle as well. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and plug 21 in for x for each time it shows up. And that should give you the measure of each angle. So the measure of a first angle is 21 plus 1. So the measure of that angle is 22. Let's use a different color. Let's use green. 22 degrees. All right. And this angle over here, right, 1 second. This angle right here is 5 times 21. So when you multiply 5 times 21, we get 105. So that is 105 degrees right here. And what is left over, you can actually do this in multiple ways. You can either do, as we did before, 2 times 21 plus 11. So you can plug in the 21. Or you can go ahead and knowing that everything has to add up to 180, you can add these two and just figure out what that third one is. The best option, however, is to do both ways so you can make sure that you got the right answer. And when I did both ways, my answer here is 53 degrees. And that's how you deal with the measurements of a triangle, the angle measurements.